My question is for the Minister representing the Minister for Trade, Senator Payne. One of the biggest and most controversial issues in US politics at the moment is providing authority to President Obama to fast-track the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement through Congress. Right now, the US Congress is having a robust democratic debate about the importance of parliamentary oversight in such agreements. Under Australia's treaty process, this same deal is automatically set up for fast-track through our parliament after signing by Cabinet. Wait for it, Senator McDonald, here it comes. When will the minister comply with this Senate's previous order for production of documents and release the final text of the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement so Parliament and the Australian people can scrutinise this secret deregulation agenda prior to signing by Cabinet?
The Minister for Human Services representing the Minister for Trade, Senator Payne.
Thank you very much, Mr President, and I thank Senator Whish-Wilson very much for his question. The circumstances in the United States, Mr President, I think the Minister for Trade and Investment, Minister Robb, has spoken at some length about these and indicated that it is a circumstance of—
Senator Carr. Senator Carr. On both sides. Order. Senator Carr, I know it's Thursday. Senator Brandis on a point of order.
This is a robust chamber, and all the interjections, although disorderly, are not unknown. But there is a difference between interjections and Labor frontbenchers, including the leader, yelling at members of the government while they are trying to answer questions. And I would ask you to enforce the standing orders.
Thank you, Senator Brandis. Order. Order. On both sides, I ask all senators to come to order. Senator Payne, you have the call.
Thank you very much, Mr President, and I do thank Senator Brandis for that intervention, but the day I need protection from Senator Carr will be the day I'm scared by a lettuce leaf. Can I say, in relation to the developments, as I was saying, Mr President, in relation to the developments in the United States, which Senator Whish-Wilson referred to in his question, Mr President, these are always the matter of great cut and thrust in both domestic and international politics, and the circumstances in the United States are no exception from that exercise, Mr President, the highly political exercise of cut and thrust that is associated with these matters. The Trade and Investment Minister here in Australia, Mr President, Mr Robb, has gone to great lengths to engage with members of the parliament, including extending an offer to Senator Whish-Wilson, an offer which was taken up by other senators and other members of the parliament in this chamber, an offer to view the material that is available in relation to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Others in the parliament have taken that up. I understand Senator Whish-Wilson chose not to, and that is, of course, Mr President, his choice, and a matter for him and a matter for the Greens. It is not a matter for the government. The government made the offer, Mr President. It was not taken up by Senator Whish-Wilson. There are other members who did avail themselves of the opportunity. We, of course, remain hopeful that the relevant legislation will ultimately pass, which will provide the momentum we need to conclude the negotiations. The Trade Minister has made that quite clear, and I reiterate his remarks.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Whish-Wilson, supplementary question.
Thank you, Senator Payne. I have children and I know not to reward bad behaviour. When John Howard excluded investor-state dispute settlement clauses from the US Free Trade Agreement, Mark Vaile said, "We do not believe that ISDS is necessary in an agreement between two highly developed economies with very transparent legal systems." The coalition government has recently agreed to ISDS provisions with Korea, China and the US via the TPP. Have you included ISDS because you now believe the legal systems of China, Korea and the US are not of sufficient standards to allow Australian companies to invest there?
Thank you, Senator. The time for asking the question has expired. Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr President. The engagement in relation to ISDS by this government, and in fact by previous governments, is nothing new, Mr President. We do not intend to sign up to any rules that are against the national interest and that are not fair and equitable to all Australians. ISDS itself is not new. We currently have ISDS arrangements with 29 economies. 4 of those are FTAs, 21 of those are investment treaties, and we have always said that we'll consider ISDS on a case-by-case basis, which we are now doing. As I understand it, in August of 2014, so last year, the Senate Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade Legislative Committee, Mr President, agreed with a case-by-case approach for the inclusion of ISDS in free trade agreements, a case-by-case approach. The views of a number of commentators on this matter, Mr President, are curious. Some would describe them as rankly hypocritical, but I'll leave that to commentators elsewhere. We've had the ISDS opposed even by the Labor Party as well, notwithstanding the fact that when they signed the Australia-Chile FTA—
The question has expired. Senator Whish-Wilson, a final
Thank you, President.
supplementary question.
Debate in the United States is also currently focused on the Trade Adjustment Assistance Package to support workers who lose out from trade agreements. The modelling you released yesterday said your 3 partnership agreements will cause manufacturing output in Australia to decline by around $4 billion. This would include declines in Australian manufacturing of metal products, transport equipment, electronic equipment and machinery. When you pass CHAFTA with the help of Labor, will you institute a structural adjustment package to support thousands of Labor's manufacturing workers who will lose their jobs as a result of this agreement?
The question has expired. Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr President. And again, I thank Senator Whish-Wilson for that question, which I think means we've moved on to CHAFTA from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, so not exactly a supplementary. As I indicated yesterday, Mr President, in relation to the China-Australia Free Trade Agreement, it is an extraordinary opportunity for this country, an extraordinary opportunity to develop the growth of our goods and services and their distribution internationally that would never have been possible without the work of this government and the Trade and Investment Minister, Andrew Robb. Never have been possible, because those opposite did nothing in this area for—
Pause the clock. Senator Whish-Wilson, a point of order.
Yeah, President, my question was clear. I wanted to know if the government is considering a trade adjustment assistance package, like in the US, to compensate workers who will lose their jobs from these trade deals.
Thank you, Senator Whish-Wilson. 2 comments. Firstly, your question was borderline as to being a supplementary to the primary question. And secondly, the minister has only been on her feet for half the time. She has half the time left to answer the question. Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr President. And in relation to jobs issues that the senator has referred to, I have a small amount of information here, but I think it's probably an idea for me to take the rest of that question on notice, Mr President, and I'll come back to the senator.
Thank you.